Work as mentioned, the college basketball season gets underway on Monday. Trivia time. Norlander, it's trivia time.
I just knew this was coming. All right, lay it on me. What do we got?
What's the first game? The first game that's going to tip off on Monday to get started this 2023-24 season.
The first game, in chronological order, the first game that will actually tip off on Monday.
It's 11 a.m. Eastern. Nothing tips off earlier.
Is it between... I know how these things can go sometimes. College basketball doesn't exactly get off with a bang. Is it even between two Division I programs?
Nope.
Yeah, there's no chance I'm going to know this. Okay, can you give me... just give it to me. I don't even know. What do we got?
We got Spalding at IUPUI. Okay, how familiar are you with Spalding?
I know it makes a great basketball.
That's the thing.
In fact, it feels fitting in that regard. IUPUI, straight out of the Horizon League, is your Division I program in that matchup. That's not great, but at least we do get USC Kansas State is Monday night, and those are two top 25 teams at KenPom, and USC has the number one ranked freshman in the country, Isaiah Collier, so there's something to watch out there. So at least there is a game that has some marquee value, but we do both wish that the opening Monday and Tuesday as well of the season had a little more pop to it. We're not getting that this season.
For those unfamiliar, Spalding is, of course, located in Louisville, Kentucky. Spalding is, I think you can safely say, the second best college basketball team in the city of Louisville, behind number one Bellarmine. It goes Bellarmine number one,
wow,
Spalding number two, and then the Louisville Cardinals. I think this year, maybe number three.
It's tough.
It's tough. It's a tough situation in Louisville.
It just got dropped in an exhibition earlier this week, unfortunately, did Louisville by D2 program. So Kenny Payne year two, this ship's going to have to turn a lot quicker.
Kenny Payne year two at Louisville is obviously a storyline to follow. But heading into this season, what is, in your opinion, the three biggest storylines to follow?
Yeah, narrowing this down to if this was our regular podcast, if you will, which you can always watch on YouTube, subscribe to the YouTube channel and listen on anywhere you get your podcasts. I might dive in on 10 storylines, but we're going to keep it to 3 here. And I'm even going to mention the fourth, which is FAU and how it looks. GP's got them 4th in his rankings. I've got them 15th. They're 10th in the AP Top 25 preseason poll. How FAU thrives or doesn't after making the Final Four is a big one. But my top 3 are this. Number 1, it's got to be Purdue. They bring back the National Player of the Year in Zach Edey. He is the near unanimous pick to repeat as National Player of the Year. I think he will do it. I believe you think he will do it. We'll get to that a little bit later on the show. Purdue losing to FDU as a 16 seed last season. The just devastating irony of that loss, GP, being that FDU was the smallest team in the field. Purdue had the biggest dude in college basketball, and it didn't matter. FDU wound up winning. Purdue was spinning its wheels, and it's one of the most notorious upsets if you're on the losing end of it in college hoops history. What does Purdue look like this season? You know, preseason number 1 in my rankings, preseason number 1 in all the mainstream metrics, not there in the AP Top 25, but it needs to have a big season. And by big season, I mean finish maybe atop the Big Ten and make a deep run in the NCAA tournament. Storyline 2, how does UConn look? They lose real talent. Jordan Hawkins, lottery pick. Andre Jackson, one of the best athletes and playmakers in the sport last season. He's off to the NBA as well. And then Adama Sanogo was the team's MVP, and they wouldn't have won a national title without him last season. We'll see if he can carve out a career in the NBA or not. If not, I see 12 years of absolute glamour and domination and an overseas career for Adama Sanogo. They're all gone. Now, UConn does bring back Tristan Newton to play point, which I think is huge. Donovan Clingan, the big who came off the bench, who was used in spot duty to give Sanogo a breather. Now he's expected to be the breakout player in the sport this season, GP. Will he do that? And Stephon Castle's the freshman to know at UConn, but does the program handle prosperity well? It was picked 3rd in the Big East. What does Dan Hurley's encore look like? I think that's a pretty big story overall. And then number 3, I'm going to stick in the Big East, and it's because Rick Pitino is there. You get Rick Pitino, who's a top 10 coach in the game still, in my opinion. GP might even have him top 3 at this point. His record is undeniable over the years and what he's been able to do and transform programs. St. John's, which actually, like Louisville, lost an exhibition. Shouts to Pace University. St. John's didn't have some players playing in that, but projected in the top half of the league. Will St. John's, the storyline with St. John's is, will it compete to make the NCAA tournament in year 1? Don't quite know, but obviously you got Pitino back in the Garden, back in the Big East, a ton of attention there. I think those are the three biggest on the precipice of day one of the season next Monday.
So let me take them in the order that you presented them. Can Purdue redeem itself after that 1-16 loss to Fairleigh Dickinson? I don't know. That never goes away. That's always going to be something that happened. Purdue is forever going to be the second number 1 seed to ever lose a round of 64 game. So they can't erase that, but they can change the narrative connected to their program. They've got all the pieces to not only win another Big Ten title and a Big Ten tournament title, but to, yes, go to the Final Four for the first time since 1980 and maybe, just maybe, win a national championship. I'd love to see it. I think that fan base deserves it. I think Matt Painter deserves it. Zach Edey as the player of the year back in school. I would like to – the way that season ended, I can't imagine what it's like to play in November, December, January, February, early March, be awesome, start to finish, set yourself up to be a 1 seed in the NCAA tournament, then boom, it's just over like that. That's tough to deal with. I know they've been dealing with it, those players, that coaching staff, that fan base, all off season. It wouldn't bother me one bit if we would look up in the greater Phoenix area at the Final Four.
Glendale, yes.
And Purdue is holding the trophy. I think that'd be a nice story for everybody. As for UConn repeating, maybe they have a chance, but the problem is the reason repeat national champions are such a rare thing in college basketball is that it's hard to win that tournament even when you're the best team. Like the nature of the tournament, even if you're the best team, you've got to win 6 games without losing any. And these are 40-minute games with a short 3-point line. Foul trouble could dictate the outcome of it. There are just so many variables that, again, even when you have the best team, the best roster, it's hard to do. For instance, right now, Duke and Kansas at FanDuel are the favorites to win the 2024 NCAA tournament at plus 1,100. They are still wild underdogs to actually win 6 straight games in the NCAA tournament, and they're the teams that are most likely to do it according to the betting market. So can UConn win a second straight national championship? Yes, UConn can. But if you're asking me UConn or the field, I'll take the field over UConn. More specifically, I'll take the field over anybody. St. John's competing for an NCAA tournament berth in year 1 under Rick Pitino. I think they'll definitely compete. I actually think they'll get there. I've got the Red Storm 25th in my preseason top 25 and 1. But it is true that Rick Pitino has never taken a power conference school to the NCAA tournament in year 1. The only time he ever did it was in year 1 at Iona when they finished 9th in the league and then won the conference tournament. So Rick Pitino, an all-time great, but he hasn't done what St. John's fans want him to do this season, which is take a power conference program to the NCAA tournament in year 1. In fairness to him, at Kentucky, he was ineligible to do it. Yep. But still, what I'm saying is a fact. He's never done it before. I think that changes this March.
We'll see. He's got a chance. They bring, and I sat down with Pitino at Big East Media Day one-on-one for CBS, and he told me, listen, and this was before the pace loss, we're bringing over guys from mid-major programs. Some of them were coming from losing situations. So they're going to have guys from Harvard and Iona and UMass and Penn. They do have Naheem Aline, who comes from the reigning national champions, UConn. He transferred there. And he just said, listen, it might be a little bit, and I'm paraphrasing, but it might be a little bit bumpy in the first few weeks of the season. We'll see if that winds up being the case. They bring back Joel Soriano, who I think is a pretty big piece there overall. But the Big East in general has storylines galore, and we did a preseason Big East special pod that you can find in the feed. To me, it's the most compelling conference in the country for about a dozen reasons, and you see it here. It's got probably 2 of the 4 biggest storylines in the sport heading into the season, and we are eager as ever to get these games going because college hoops has one of the longest off seasons of any major American sport, and I can't wait to see what surprises are in store. Every year, GP, we get surprised by not just one thing or 2 things, but a litany of them, and once we get these games rolling, the plots begin to unfold.